Hi, everybody. Welcome to Conversations with Calvin, We the Species. Today I'm with Coy Price, and I always like to be chronological. It's 2 days before Thanksgiving,
Yes, sir.
my favorite holiday. And I always define Thanksgiving as the three F's: friends, family, no, four F's: friends, family, football, and food. It's the four F's, and ain't nothing better than that. Plus, I watch the March of the Wooden Soldiers. I don't know if you know that movie, Corey. It was only made in 1934. You probably don't know it.
No.
It was made in 1934. It was Laurel and Hardy, and it's really babes in Toyland. And when I was 8 years old, my father had me watch it, and I loved it, and I made it a tradition. So for the last 68 years, I've watched that movie at 9 o'clock on Channel 11 here in New York, and that's who and what I am. So I'm with Coy, and we met of all places on LinkedIn,
Sir.
and of course his profile and his background was so interesting, and he's Gen Z. That's also interesting. And then we were talking for a long time before we went on air. We are both uh, part of the Big Ten Conference. Coy is Purdue, and I'm Rutgers, if you didn't guess. So we were doing a lot of basketball talk and stuff. So I'm kind of filled up with all kinds of stuff to talk about, and let's kind of take it on, Coy, and how about a little bit of a bio and the title of this? You're a freelance copywriter. You're a Gen Z guy. We'll talk about Keon Sports Media Group and the fact that you're a professional and creative writer, and we'll talk about Purdue. So take it away.
Yeah. So my name is Coy Price. I graduated in May 2020 from Purdue University, the great Purdue University, with a bachelor's degree in professional and creative writing. Something that I've always been passionate about since a young kid. I was in the exploratory program for a little bit actually at Purdue, and because I was trying to figure out what I wanted to get into. But the only thing that really made sense to me, was this writing program at Purdue. I had such a great time there. My professors were amazing, very supportive, very smart. I met a lot of amazing people there, and just had a great time. There's so many projects that I worked on that I'm so ecstatic and happy that I had the chance to participate in. Um, so yeah, I love Purdue and what I did there. Shortly after that, I was kind of having trouble figuring out what I wanted to do. It was during the pandemic and
Yeah.
things were changing, and so was I. I wasn't really sure, um, and kind of took up various odd jobs for about 7, 8 months trying to figure out everything. But then slowly I came to my own path and figured out this freelance writing thing is the thing I want to do. So that's what I'm doing now, and I'm really happy doing it.
Great. It's interesting. Um, my observation is your generation uh, will need more, and I'm not talking about financial, more than any other generation, I think in world history, you're going to need more support than any other generation in however we can define support. Nothing, I mean, yes, financial, but beyond that, because the world has changed irrevocably in so many. How did it feel? You graduated right in the middle of the pandemic. How did that feel? It's kind of weird.
Yeah, man. That's one of those things. It's like you graduate from college, and a lot of people are already kind of confused. Like, what do I want to do? I've studied for this so long, and not everybody has a plan. So then you're kind of left grasping. But on top of that, the world's changing, and I can't go outside, and I have to stay in. I have to wear a mask, and there's a vaccine. Like all these things. Um, so yeah, it was just a confusing time, and I think everybody was just trying to work
Right.
through it and trying to figure it out as they went. But that's life. So, I mean, it was a good lesson, and I'm happy because, it creates adversity, and changes the way you
Yeah.
learn and progress and
Right.
get better. So,
Right. We talked about this before we went on air. Um, I had asked you if you were a real Hoosier, um, and
guess not.
but you were born in Georgia, but you spent most of your life. And then, of course, I asked you if you saw one of my favorite movies, Hoosiers,
Yeah.
and I think I raised your eyebrows when I said I watch this once a month
Yeah.
forever for the last 20 years. It's just a marvelous movie about overcoming and the fact that this little tiny true story. That's why you really like it, because it's a true story. So that's your assignment over the weekend. I'm teasing you, but it is a marvelous movie. So we're just going to jump around. You did a lot of mentoring for kids when you were in college, correct?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it was really interesting. I mean, I had done stuff when I was in high school as well. I was actually the president of this little organization called the Key Club, where we partner with little organizations in the community, like Habitat for Humanity and stuff like that, and we go and volunteer. So I had already had experience with that, um, but then I wanted to do something, in college as well. So there's this program at Purdue College called College Mentors for Kids. I'm sure it's across the nation as well.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, they pair you up with a kid from, maybe not underprivileged, but maybe needs special attention, or, maybe their parent
Hmm.
is working and they just need, somebody to look after them and help them out. So I got paired with two kids, and, that it was just such a great experience, hanging out with them,
Yeah.
figuring out their lives, learning about them and what makes them tick, what they like, what they don't like. And just, it was such a beautiful experience. I remember this one kid that I worked with, uh, we went and we were going around the Purdue Memorial Union, which is like a building where, there's a bunch of cafes and a lot of the Purdue students study there and stuff like that. And one of our things to do for College Mentors for Kids is we went around trying to sell, um, I believe it was like tickets or something. So, everybody's trying to just go up to various vendors and stuff. But me and my kid, we went upstairs to, the big dogs, the big Purdue like staff and stuff, and we were selling. So I think we're the group that sold the most, or of
Uh,
whatever we were doing to get the most funds. Um, but yeah, I remember we developed such a bond, him and I. And then at the end, when it was my last time seeing him, his mom was there, and he came running up to me and hugging me, and
that's great.
saying how thankful he was and how
That's
happy he
great.
was to meet me. And it was just such a moment I'll always remember. And I even
Yeah.
have in my room right now, we had these little like snow globe arts and craft projects where we had a picture that we took together, and we put it in there,
Uh-huh.
in this little jar, and glued it. And I still have it in my room to this
That's
day.
cool.
So I'm always happy when I see
That's
that.
cool. And you're a young guy to 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 have experienced that and to have done that. And not enough people do that kind of giving back and doing it young. So you know, it's very impressive that you did that. Um, I wanted to say to you, um, and you're talking about careers and trying to decide things in the pandemic. When I taught at Rutgers, I don't know if I mentioned this to you a couple times that we Zoomed before, but when I taught at Rutgers, there were two things I used to teach. I said the same thing every class. Uh, I, if I had 16 lectures, 16 times I said the same thing. And I said to the students that you will have, statistically, you will have 17 jobs and
Mm,
5 careers by the time you hang it up.
yeah.
Just the way it is. That's number one. And number two the other thing I said, which I'm a great proponent of networking, because that's how we met.
Yeah.
70% of the people who get hired in America is a direct result of who they know.
Yes.
So you network, you meet people on LinkedIn, and 70%, and that's staggering. Whether it's right or wrong, meaning is it fair or not fair? That's just the way it is. But anyway, moving on. So, hey, and the other thing that bonds me to you is I mentioned I just finished my second novel, so I'm quote a creative writer of sorts, whatever that is. It's not my life's work, but man, do I love the whole process of creating creative writing. It's funny, I was with a friend of mine this morning, a Rutgers fan, and he wants to write a second. He wants to write his first book. I just finished my second, and I told him, and this is great, and it was so impressive. I said that Norman Mailer, this great American writer, said, for a guy writing a novel, it's the closest thing to giving birth.
Mm,
And
wow.
it it's a real powerful, you can use it.
Yeah.
And even if it's a short story or anything creative, it's like giving birth. So you're a freelance writer for GamePro. So you did some video, which is video games. Why don't you talk about that? I'm fascinated by that.
Yeah, so that was my first, I would say, like true professional writing gig, and I was so thankful for that experience, and it shaped, my whole career up to this point. But prior to that, I was working at like Walmart for about 7 to 8 months right after I graduated. I moved down to Georgia, and I was in Georgia. Um, yeah, and I was working at Walmart, but I realized, I really want to start getting my career on track, and doing things that, I really love. So I applied to a bunch of gigs, and I was lucky enough to get this freelance writing gig with GamePro, where I was writing how-to articles for these MMO games, MMORPGs, which are massive multiplayer online games. So I don't know if you ever heard of like World of Warcraft or anything
I'm
like
not
that.
into that.
No.
My
Okay.
son out there in the other room is into it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's just a game where a bunch of people, you know, thousands, millions of people
At
get
one
on this
time,
game.
they're online
Oh,
at one time.
all the time, man. I mean, it's people from all over the world. That's why it's called massive multiplayer, because
Wow.
it's just everybody in the world. So yeah, I was doing how-to guides for specifically 3 games. It was Final Fantasy Online, it was Guild Wars 2, and then it was Elder Scrolls Online. Just stuff like how to get certain items and stuff in the game. Um, and it was a great experience. Funnily enough, it was kind of a blessing in disguise, but after that, the 2 or 3, 4 weeks I was there, the editor, he's like, "Hey, Coy, listen, um, I've been thinking about this for a while, but I don't think you're right there, with your skills or whatever. You're not up there yet, so I'm gonna have to let you go." And at the moment, I was like, "Dang, okay." I think it was more for the journalistic stuff. Like I did a news piece, and I just didn't put the important information at the top. Um, yeah, which I was a little bit sad about it at the time, but I mean, I just realized, in that moment, I didn't want to do video game writing in the first place, or journalistic stuff, journalism. I like, more creative and stuff like that. Not like news, but even the video game stuff. I was just like, you had to spend so much time in the video game.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want to spend my time in a video game. I'd rather do writing, the thing that I love, So, uh,
It worked
that was
out
my
fine.
first professional gig, and I was happy to have it, but it definitely helped me understand what I wanted out of my career and what I
Hmm.
didn't. So,
Okay, smart. I'm sitting here listening to you, and the couple times that we Zoom chatted beforehand, um, uh, and this is a compliment. It may not sound like a compliment, but it is. I'm listening to you. You're grounded. and you got a handle on things. And sometimes I think I'm talking to somebody who's like 40, 45 years old. So that's a compliment.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And I talk to so many young people, and it's like I pinch myself. This young graduated in 2020, and yet and he's so grounded, and he's got depth and breadth and maturity. It's great stuff. So, off a little off topic. I'm not really. I have nothing whatsoever to do with video games whatsoever, and that's always been a thing of contention with my son out there, because he does it and I don't see it. But he recently, we had a thing. He told me some guy won like $1 million in a contest. I mean, you
Yeah,
can
in a
make some
tournament
serious
probably.
money,
Yeah.
serious
Yeah.
money doing
Yeah.
that. I mean,
It's wild. Yeah, the competitiveness. I mean, there's these what do they call it? Competitive tournaments. I'm blanking on the name right now. But yeah, there's these tournaments where like actual teams of players go together where there's these games where you go against each other, where whether it's like a fighting game or a shooting game or a strategy game, whatever it is, and they go in these big like arenas, like basketball arenas, and they set up this whole platform, this whole stage, and have like thousands of people watching them live in the arena, just like you'd watch a regular sports event. Oh, it's called esports. That's what it is.
Okay. Yeah, I heard
Yeah.
that. Okay.
Yeah. And there's big cash prizes. I mean, the players themselves get sponsors from, there's this company called G Fuel that you could be like that's like the gamer Gatorade or whatever. And a lot of stuff like that where they sponsor the players, and these players, they play for like 16 hours a day when they're practicing.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then they go in these tournaments and they're so skilled, and they go off just like it'd be a regular sporting event, and they get paid. And it's really awesome because, people who are really passionate about games, they could make money from it if they put in the work, So even though it's not traditional, it's just another example of how our world's changing, I think,
Correct.
for the better.
Correct. Yeah, I watched the Olympics. And you had skateboarders, guys from the streets, guys and gals from the streets doing skateboarding. I mean, the world is changing. You do stuff which also interests me, as an intern with Keon Sports Media.
Yeah.
Can you talk about some of the events you've covered and stuff you've done with them?
Yeah. So that stuff is fairly limited, because it's kind of like a thing that, I do on the side, but it's not like I'm getting paid for it. So I contribute when I can. But yeah, that's another one of my first professional gigs where I got to showcase my talent, showcase my writing ability. I'm super passionate about the NBA and basketball in general. So the first piece I wrote was about LeBron and if he's on his decline or not. I covered influencer boxing, and if it's, a gimmick, if it's bringing down the reputation of the sport. I covered the Phoenix Suns when they're in the finals doing their thing, and I predicted them to win the NBA championship, and they let me down.
Wow.
So I soured out on them. But I also recently wrote a Cleveland Cavaliers season preview for the team. That's my favorite NBA sports team. But my more permanent contribution to Keon Sports is I'm on a podcast called the 4-Point Play podcast that we run. It was Tuesdays at 6:45 on Podbean, but now it's 6:45 on Thursdays on Podbean. And it's really cool. We talk about NBA, the news surrounding it, about teams and all that. So super fun.
I saw the clip the other night, of the elbow that LeBron threw.
Yeah, on Isaiah Stewart.
Yeah. It's like, wow, he got suspended a game for that.
LeBron did?
Yeah, I just saw that this morning. He got suspended. I think LA was supposed to play the Knicks, and I think he was suspended for that one game for that. Now I think it was an accident. I don't think it wasn't deliberate, but
Or his heat of the moment. It looked
yeah,
like they're scuffling on the free throw line trying to get the
yeah,
ball.
right,
Maybe Isaiah pushed him a little bit, and then LeBron just out of heat of the moment, like get off me, and maybe hit him. But
yeah, and he didn't mean it, but it kind of got ugly, and but
did you see him after that? Isaiah Stewart, when he
yeah,
was running through his whole
yeah,
team,
yeah.
beating people off him and running like
He's
a
a big guy.
linebacker or something.
He's a big guy, and they try to contain him, and they weren't doing a good job.
He was throwing coaches around like it was nothing.
Yeah, rightfully so. It was a
High
mess.
school buddy, yeah.
It was a mess. I'm not as involved. I don't have the strength to be involved in NBA and college basketball. I'm just not that. It's too much. So I limit myself on the NBA side because I grew up rooting for the Boston Celtics a long, long, long time ago when they had guys that you wouldn't even know. Bob Cousy, Bill Russell, you probably know about.
Yeah.
Now I watch, well, because I grew up, when I grew up, there a team was a team and it stayed a team. So nobody left. So the Boston Celtics had the 7, 8, 9, 10 guys that hung around for like 12 years. Nobody left. There was no free agency or none of that. So the whole concept of a team, you root for a team, it stays. To me, that was important. Now, I look at the New Jersey, the Brooklyn Nets. They put together just an amazing team. I mean, my goodness, they could win. I mean, they could, Kevin Durant. I marvel at him. I watch him in the Olympics.
Oh my
He's
goodness. So
just
good.
amazing. I mean, some of these guys are so amazing. But they put together Kyrie Irving. Um, uh, uh, um, I'm trying to think who else.
James Harden. They
Yeah,
got
yeah.
they got
Yeah,
Blake Griffin,
yeah,
LaMarcus
yeah.
Aldridge.
This is a
They have
great
Patty
team.
Mills.
It's
Yeah.
a great. They probably could run and win everything. I don't know if they'll let Kyrie play because he's not vaccinated.
If he was playing, they would not be touchable. But right
No,
now they have a little bit of a chink in the armor where it's
yeah,
possible that some other team can beat them.
yeah, and I don't know if peer pressure will make him get it's in whatever. Anyway, moving on. We could talk about since we're on sports, your favorite sports teams, which you just told me, and we could talk about our conference, the Big Ten conference. Um, a personal question, you don't have to answer it, but when Rutgers and Maryland came in, what were your feelings about that when they came into the conference?
I'm all for it, man. I mean, kind of like with the NIL, I'm not too polished up on this subject, so I can't really say too much. But I mean, I'm always for more competition. And I mean, those two schools are, very reputable and they have a history of, excellence. So I'm happy for it. I'm happy, with more competition and more recognition in the Big Ten because it's the best conference in basketball,
It
in
is.
NCAA basketball.
It is. And you know what I love about the Big Ten? It's
But
also an academic
yeah,
conference. And the Ivy League is an academic conference, Harvard and Yale, and but it's not really an athletic conference. But you look at the Big Ten, and they've got this consortium where they do all this research, and they share it, and it really is an academic conference, and so you take the best of all worlds. That's why I love the Big Ten. We talked before we went there about this new alliance which is going to just evolve between the Big Ten, Pac, the Pac-10, and the ACC. Whatever. I don't think they even define what the alliance is, but they want to ally and kind of protect themselves from the SEC, which is your other favorite conference.
Yeah, because I'm a big Georgia Bulldogs fan. Yeah.
Big rivalry over the years, Georgia, Alabama. I marvel on how good Alabama's been. And again, off topic. I don't know how a lot of schools can compete with like an Alabama or even a Georgia. These are historic programs that have been around and dominate. And if I'm a kid in college, well, shoot, I want to go to Alabama, Georgia,
Yes.
or Ohio State too. And it's just hard for even schools like Rutgers, Maryland, and I mean any kind of school, Indiana, to kind of grab players like that and sustain. The key word is to sustain. I mean, Indiana last year was ranked, and this year, I mean, Rutgers beat them 38 to something. I mean, my goodness.
Get them.
Yeah. Anyway, there's something else I read about. You do some outreach with the thing called Natabot. I'd love you to define that.
Yeah. So that's a little side gig I do in addition to my writing, where I've been able to partner with this really awesome entrepreneur named Clay, and he's been such a mentor for me. And as a freelance writer, you're pretty much a sole proprietor. You're your own business, so you have to learn not just your craft, which is writing for me, but you also have to learn sales. You have to learn marketing. There's so many things that go into running a business, and I've been able to learn so much from him. But in regards to the specifics of Notabot, what they do is basically they help companies get their message out, and they send these hyper personalized videos to businesses to pique their interest and get them a board or figure out how they could help do outreach, because for a business to make money, you need people buying your product. So Notabot just helps businesses send out hyper personalized video messages to companies to try to get their name out. Because I don't know if you've seen this on LinkedIn, but a lot of people, they resort to like automated messages where they send you out like an offer that was pretty much copy and pasted to everybody. And when you get a message like that, for me, it's pretty much a delete, because why would I want to watch that, or why would I want to listen to that? So not about trying to change it to make it more personalized and bring in the human interaction back into sales and all that. So
really,
it's been such an awesome experience.
That's really interesting, and maybe off air we talk about that a little bit, because my head is I find that really interesting. So CoyPrice.com.
Sir.
Yeah,
That's it.
let's.
It's my website.
Yeah, let's talk about that. You're a freelance copywriter. So as I define, what do you do as a freelance copywriter, and at your website?
Yeah, so basically the website is kind of how I do on my marketing. That's how I get my name out, to show that I'm a professional in this field and that I've this experience. So it's more of a portfolio website, and I don't officially operate from it. But my freelance copywriting is, it's me, it's my own business. And what copywriting is we'll get, later into the content writing versus copywriting. But basically what copywriting is it's trying to get someone to take action, So instead of, I'm kind of skipping ahead into content versus copywriting, but
Yeah, that
um,
was my next question. I wasn't sure what the difference is.
okay, yeah, well, I'll go over that now because that just makes more sense. So the content writing, I do that as well, but that's not necessarily copywriting. Um, but content writing is like, you see articles, you see blogs, stuff that's more like informational and educational, and it teaches you something or it's entertaining and you learn something from it. Whereas copywriting, it's more of like sales writing. It's trying to get you to take an action, um, whether that's, sign up for this newsletter, buy this product, or, you know, be my friend on Facebook, whatever it is. It's getting you to take an action. So
Mhm.
basically, as a freelance copywriter, I'm a salesman, but I use my writing to sell instead of,
Okay,
giving you a pitch or whatever verbally.
okay.
Yeah, and it's super fun stuff. My favorite type of projects are email marketing campaigns. So you'll see all the time in your email inbox stuff like buy this product, or there's a sale on this website, come get it now. Website copy. So um, you know, trying to get you to sign up for that email newsletter from, an influencer's web page or whatnot. And also like social media copy. That's a lot of what I do now is, um, just outreach for brands, getting you to follow the page, whatever it is. Those are the three main projects I do, but I just love, persuading people through my writing. I think it's such a powerful tool, because and this kind of, to go more in depth about how I came upon it, it's something that I didn't even know was a career option for me. I didn't even know copywriting was a thing. I didn't know that that was something that was available to me.
Mhm.
I only thought of writing as, you know, um, more creative. It's subjective. Like, is this good or not? Well, like, it's up in the eyes of the consumer. But um, copywriting, it's really fact based, especially direct response copywriting, because that means for for your writing, if you write like a sales page to sell a product, you could track the exact amount to the penny that your writing produce, the amount of money that your writing
Yeah.
produced.
Wow.
So, yeah, so it's
Wha-
really powerful, and
Wow.
it's something that, yeah, I didn't even think it was a career. So if there's
Wow.
any freelance writers or writers out there and you're still in college, definitely look into copywriting. It's super
Wow.
interesting.
Isn't
Yeah, and
I just
it's
learned something.
very powerful.
I'm so clueless about that. I, in my world, because I'll take our interview and I have 102,000 people in my immediate social media uh, network,
Mm,
which is a nice number. But I try all different kinds of things and techniques to try to get engagement.
yeah,
Tough, tough to get people to
yeah,
do this. Um, and I'm always willing to try to learn and experiment. Sometimes I try to do it visually. When I'm trying to promote something, I'll take a ridiculous picture of me doing something ridiculous to try to catch attention. We could talk about that some other but the copywriting is fascinating, and being able to track it's like wow. We'll talk about that too off because I could ask you a million questions. Um,
yeah. And that's another interesting thing I do want to bring up. It's less of like actual writing, it's more about psychology and stuff. There's certain tricks that you learn, how to figure out what people desire, what they want, their pain points, stuff to push on to get them to take action. It's a lot more about the psychology, and the human mind, and just knowing what people want rather than the actual writing. And it's
yeah,
actually way more conversational. So like, if you go on my LinkedIn, we could talk about this later, but if you go on my LinkedIn and you see my posts, um, it's copywriting elements. It's a very conversational tone, and you're trying to reach people in a way that they understand and that
right.
really presses on their pain points. And it's something that's really interesting to me is the fact that I always study copywriting. I'm in a few courses right now. But an interesting thing is that they say like 90% of the population or something like that reads at a grade level of like 5th to 7th grade or something. So this copywriting stuff, it's very conversational. It's not academic in any sense. And matter of fact, you don't even need to be a traditional educated writer to be a copywriter, because it might even help you if you're not, because it's all about a conversational tone, about how you could flow, how you could resonate with other people. So
I'm really learning, listening to you. I'm really learning. You're actually changing the way I want to approach, how to put things out there, and make it less rigid and more
Yeah,
conversational and
you
more
should.
light.
I'll give you a ton of tips. I'll give you a bunch of notes, and I'll
Yeah,
teach you. Yeah, it's super,
yeah.
super powerful, and I don't think a lot of people know about it. So I'm glad,
I didn't know about
more.
it. I didn't know about it at all. I mean, I spend my life on LinkedIn, and I've learned a few things. Uh, uh, and I have, 15,000 connections on LinkedIn. They all were handpicked. So, I mean, I have a nice audience there.
Yeah.
And well, we'll talk about that. I want to ask you, completely off topic, and you don't have to answer it or not. It's not really personal, but it's a cute question. And here goes. Um, Excluding family or friends, somebody living or dead you'd like to spend a day with.
Easy. Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor, way back in the day.
That's
I've
great.
been learning. I've been learning
Wow.
about Stoicism recently, and it's such a powerful tool that, I think a lot of people, and especially young people like me, we put so much pressure on ourselves to succeed right away, because there's Instagram, there's social media, there's, everything, that we see these high successful people and they're like 18 years old or younger. And it's like, wow, I'm 20, or I'm 22, I'm 25, and I haven't even come close to that. And you start to doubt yourself, and it's a negative feedback loop. But something super powerful about, Marcus Aurelius, who is a Stoic philosopher, and just Stoicism in general, these two really powerful quotes that have completely shaped, the way I think about myself and my work, is one, you can only control what you do. So a lot of us, we focus on things we can't control, like traffic's bad, or the weather's bad, or people think that we're stupid, just this stupid stuff that we can't control. But we think badly of ourselves because of it. But once you start to focus on the things that you can control and that you can do, you start to realize the power of yourself and how strong you are, and all of that. And then the second quote that really ties in with this well, is that you can't control the results, but you can control the output. So, for you writing your book, it might not become a super successful book right away, but at least you can, or maybe it will, and that's awesome. But at least you can rest easy knowing that you put your heart and your dedication into that book. You sweated over it. You put in the work day after day to make that book, and you created that. And you could be super proud about that. You can't control if everybody loves it, if everybody hates it, or, all this, uncontrollable stuff. So when I'm thinking about, am I putting enough work in? Am I doing the right thing? I think about, have I succeeded in accomplishing the tasks that I've done for the day? Did I put in the work to make myself better today? And if I have, that's all that really matters. So I would love to meet Marcus Aurelius. I mean, he was such an inspirational guy. He didn't even want to be Roman emperor, but he took it up.
Wow.
And he was one of the last great Roman emperors, and he embodied this Stoic philosophy. And he's already taught me so much, just from reading his Meditations, which is an awesome book, that I want to actually read fully. I've just read quotes, but yeah, Marcus Aurelius would be the guy.
All
And
right, that's cool. But
I
you
apologize.
gotta
You mind if I get my charger real quick? I should have got this
go
before.
ahead.
It's right here.
Go ahead.
Take
Sure.
2 seconds.
Sure.
All right, sorry to break up the flow.
No, it's fine. Hey, this is just a real interview. That's why, I got my Rutgers banner in the background there. This is just my office. This is real and comfortable. So I'm kind of winding down. Just a couple more things. You have a YouTube channel,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's self-titled Coy Price.
right? And I think it's gonna it's right here on my contact list to include when I write this up.
Yeah, so I'm super into self-improvement, as you probably tell from the stoicism and all that. I'm always looking to get a little bit better each day. I mean, that's one of my quotes on my YouTube channel. At the end of my every video, it's do more, think less, and then get a little bit better each day. But it's a self-improvement based YouTube channel. Um, and at first I tried to prescribe to people how they should live their lives and get better, which I figured was not the right approach. Because you can't compel people to do things. You can only tell them about your experiences and hope they learn from them. So I've been, putting out videos on Monday every day for the past month or two, and just getting my experiences out there about what's helping me get better and how I've been able to, improve my mindset, my body, my work, everything. And so yeah, self-improvement YouTube channel. If you want to check it out, go ahead.
I'm gonna, by the way, when we're done, I'm gonna check it out and I will be subscribing. By the way, I have to tell you, you said self-help, and I'm way older than you. And I, in general, and I think most people will subscribe to what I'm gonna say now, that I don't necessarily believe in self-help.
Mm,
So, but there are a couple of instances in my life where I did subscribe to self-help. And when I was 10 or 11 or 12 years old, my mother um, made me stop reading a biography of Jim Thorpe, a great athlete, football player, All-American, Native American to boot. And she made me read this book called How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale
Dale
Carnegie.
Carnegie, great book.
And I confess I did not. I was 10, 12 years old. I didn't read the whole thing, but I read enough that I could BS my mother and make her believe. But what I did take out of it in the first chapter was, if you don't have anything nice to say,
Don't say it.
don't say it. And you know what, Coy, to this day, I still live by that. In my journalism, in my reviews, I do movie reviews, book reviews. I mean, in my entire life, and I've been criticized by some people. Say, Calvin, you never say anything bad. I said, well, somebody else say something bad.
Yeah.
If I, I'm certainly not going to critique a movie that somebody spent their life making and say it's bad. I'll find what's good about it and redeeming. And the other thing, my sister, who's really into self-help, like you, she said to me, she said, Calvin, you ought to read The Power of Now by
Mm,
Eckhart Tolle. And I didn't read the whole thing. I just read like a chapter. And what I took out from that is the only thing that's really relevant in your life is right now.
yeah,
What happened
exactly.
5 minutes ago, it's not real. And what may happen in 5 minutes from now is not real. So the only thing is right now. That's the power. And it's funny, when I digested that, I said, oh wow, I grabbed my head, this stuff is great.
Yeah,
Because I used to get, I was in sales for 25 years, and somebody would do something bad to me, I would get so angry.
yeah,
And then when I read The Power of Now, I realized I'm going to walk out of the office, it's over. So, but it's so interesting, listening to you, because the whole self-help. I mean, I'm taking away a whole bunch of stuff that I've learned. Anyway, the last Boy, we can go on and on here.
Yeah, we could.
Yeah, we really can. And maybe we will, because I mentioned this to you, come back anytime you want and talk about whatever you want. I mean, really,
I'd love to.
this is so interesting. You're so grounded.
Thank you.
No, really. The last question, future plans.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So right now, I mean, everything that I'm doing, building this freelance business is all for the purpose of being a digital nomad, essentially. I don't know if you've heard about that, but basically what I want to do is I want to have all my money coming remotely online through my online business, so that I could travel the world and just explore and learn about different people, different food, different cultures, and be, more well-rounded and cultured individual. Um, so yeah, that's in my immediate future. That's my big goal that I'm building to right now. But in the future, I want to run my own uh, marketing or advertising agency, because this copywriting thing, it's really opened a lot of doors for me, and it continues to pay back each day. And just learning more about marketing and the power of, persuasion. I love ads. I love the Nike ads. I just the Adidas ads. I love ads in general, and how they make you feel and how they get you to take action. So yeah, I want to open an advertising or marketing agency in the future.
Right.
And then beyond that, once I have enough funds, my big goal, my huge goal is, to really pay back, and inspire, a whole generation of writers. Is I want to open my own, or start my own, writing business education platform. And this is inspired by, maybe you could look him up on YouTube, or he's on LinkedIn too, Chris Do, but it's called The Future with
What's
no
his name,
E.
Chris? I'm writing this down.
Chris Do, Chris, and then Do, Chris Do.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
then his business is called The Future, and that's with no E. So FUTUR.
Fine.
And
Yeah,
what he
take a
does
note.
basically, what he does is, he's a designer, and he had his own design agency. And he still does to this day. It was called Blind, but recently he opened this thing called The Future, where he's teaching design professionals how to start their own freelance business, how to learn how to be more of an entrepreneur, how to delegate tasks, how to, level up in business, and, learn more of the business side of design, in addition to their design skills, so they could make a profit from it. They could do what they love, what they're passionate about. So I want to do that for writers. I want to inspire writers to start their own business, to pursue what they're passionate about, to, just live a more fulfilled life. Because I really think a big reason for why people today are so, mad and angry and hate each other is because they're not doing what they really love, and they pick jobs that don't mean a lot to them just because they want money. But I want to inspire, writers, people that are passionate about it, to do something that they're passionate about, live a meaningful life, do what you really love. And I want to, just inspire a whole generation of people to do that. And so that's my big goal at the end of the day. That's what I'm
Great.
building up towards.
That's
But
great.
that's way off into the future. So
Yeah, but it's real, and I'm listening to you, and I started this little channel 14 months ago, and as kind of a goof, and I'm way past the age, by at least a decade, of really having to do anything. And it's funny. I became a journalist and a novelist and a broadcaster with a cable TV talk show, and a lecturer at Rutgers University. Now I'm doing podcasting, and I've done all that after I turned 65.
wow, that's
So,
amazing. That really is amazing.
so that embraces what you said, to do things that you're passionate about. And
Yeah.
everything I've done these past 10 years, it's been passion, and not necessarily monetarily motivated, but it's passionately motivated.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's awesome. You could tell, the production you put in and the people you're bringing on. It's really awesome to see. And, kudos to you for building
Thank
this
you.
thing up, man. For
Thank
having
you.
2.2 thousand subscribers, I believe you said.
Yeah, 22.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that is in 14 months. And I didn't know what that meant.
It's huge,
Uh,
huge. Once you break that 1,000 barrier,
yes.
even the 100 is crazy.
Yeah, I took a creative, a YouTube creation course. When I coursed over 1,000, I wanted to know what 1,000 meant, and that was like 6 months ago. And YouTube told me that if you course over 1,000, you're in the top 17% globally
Yeah.
of YouTube channels. And I said, oh wow. I mean, so now I course 2,000. My head is swimming. We did great. I'm officially on air inviting you to come back, and we'll talk about that even off air. But I can't thank you enough, Coy, for sharing your passion and your journey and your adventures, and your intellect, and to be continued. And I won't root for Purdue in 2 weeks to beat Rutgers, but I'll have a newfound respect for Purdue.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you so much. Happy Thanksgiving, and to be continued. This was a great interview. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. It's been awesome to be on. Thank you for your great questions, and
Yes.
I'd love to be back on in the future.
I would love you to be back. Thank you.